You think Dracula is just a sexy vampire from a novel? What if I told you he was real? And he didn't suck blood, he spilled it by the gallon. Vlad the Impaler wasn't a fantasy. He was a brutal warlord who skewered tens of thousands alive and inspired one of the most iconic monsters in history. But how much of the Dracula we know is true? And how much is terrifying fiction? Let's go back to the 15th century, to the blood-soaked lands of Wallachia, now part of Romania. Vlad III, known as Vlad Tepes or Vlad the Impaler, ruled during a time of chaos. He wasn't just defending his land from the Ottomans, he was making a statement through fear. Legend says he impaled over 20,000 people, enemy soldiers, traitors, even thieves, on giant wooden stakes. Reports from terrified enemies described forests of corpses, the stench so bad armies turned back without fighting. But here's the twist. In Romania, Vlad is still seen by many as a hero, a defender of Christian Europe, a symbol of order through terror. Fast forward to 1897. Irish author Bram Stoker writes Dracula, a novel that would redefine horror forever. But Stoker didn't just invent his vampire from scratch. He was inspired by tales of Vlad the Impaler, but twisted them into something far more supernatural. In the novel, Dracula is an immortal count from Transylvania, a shape-shifting predator who feeds on the blood of the living. He lives in a castle, fears the cross, hates sunlight, and seduces his victims before draining them dry. None of that was true of Vlad, but the mix of history and horror was irresistible, and it birthed the modern vampire myth. So what's real? Impaling? True. Vlad used it as psychological warfare. Castle Dracula? Real place, but not where Stoker thought. Blood drinking? Not proven, but tales of his sadism likely inspired the myth. Immortality, garlic, bats, pure fiction, but deeply symbolic. Eternal seduction and power? That came from our fears, not Vlad's biography. Stoker took a brutal man and made him immortal, not through blood, but through story. So what do you believe? Was Vlad a monster or a misunderstood ruler? And why do we keep turning historical horror into seductive myth? Maybe vampires reflect what we fear most, losing control, craving power, and what lies beyond death. Let me know in the comments, do you fear the real Dracula or the one hiding in the dark corners of your imagination? If you enjoyed this dive into history and legend, don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from East and West. From the misty forests of Eastern Europe to the deserts of Arabia, one legend has never died. It simply changes its name. They feed on fear, desire, and blood. Tonight, we reveal 5 vampire legends from around the world and ask the question, who truly rules the night? We begin where history meets horror, Romania. Vlad III of Wallachia, known as Vlad the Impaler, ruled through terror and blood. He dined among the dying, impaled his enemies, and his cruelty inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. But in Romanian folklore, Dracula wasn't a monster. He was a guardian against the Turkish armies. Maybe the scariest truth is that the real vampire was human. One monk who served under Vlad wrote, "He drank wine as men screamed, yet his eyes were calm, like he was already dead." Some called him savior, others demon. To his people, he was protection against invasion. To his enemies, he was the thirst of death itself. In his lifetime, Vlad became what others only feared to name, a man who conquered mortality through terror. Long before Dracula, the villagers of Transylvania whispered of the Strigoi, the restless ones who refused to stay dead. They rose from their graves at midnight to drain life from the living, not just blood, but energy, vitality itself. Priests exhumed their corpses, burned their hearts, and buried them face down to stop their return. The line between superstition and survival was written in ash. In a forgotten Romanian village, the priest's journal from 1652 reads, "We opened the coffin of Aswang, dead 3 days. His eyes moved. When the stake pierced his heart, he screamed like a newborn." The villagers buried him again, upside down, and for generations they whispered that every thunderstorm was Aswang's rage, searching for the blood he lost. Some said lightning struck his grave each spring, as if the heavens themselves were trying to hold him down. The Strigoi were not myths to them. They were neighbors who refused to rest. But not all vampires wear cloaks. Some hide in plain sight, under the tropical moon of the Philippines. Half vampire, half witch, the Aswang prowls the night skies of Iloilo and Capiz. It disguises itself as a woman by day, and by night, its tongue extends like a serpent to drink blood from the sleeping. Parents told children to stay indoors after sunset, not because of monsters, but because belief itself had power to keep the dark away. An old woman from Iloilo once said, "My mother told me to keep rice by the window. When the Aswang comes, she must count every grain. It buys you time until sunrise." They say the Aswang fears light, not because it burns her skin, but because dawn reminds her of the humanity she lost. And in every village where she was seen, dogs never barked, they whimpered. Before the word vampire existed, there was Upir, the Slavic undead who could walk in daylight and burn with inner fire. They were not cursed by God, they were gods once, fallen for drinking divine blood. In old prayers, peasants begged, "Deliver us from Upir, who walks between life and flame." The vampire as a symbol of divine rebellion, immortal, not damned. A wandering merchant wrote in 1734, "I saw a pale man standing by the frozen lake. His breath steamed like smoke, yet the snow beneath him burned." In some tales, the Upir's fire isn't punishment. It's memory, the warmth of gods they once were, the curse of light that can never die. And even now, villagers say that when the snow glows red at dawn, the Upir has walked through the night again, his footsteps melting winter itself. But in the east, the undead wear paper talismans instead of cloaks. The Jiangshi, the hopping vampire, hunts by night, draining qi, the life force itself. Taoist priests used mirrors, bells, and peachwood swords to banish them back to the shadows. Different myths, same hunger, the eternal thirst for what keeps us alive. An old Taoist scroll tells of a monk named Huijing. "We tied 7 bells to the corpse's wrist. If even one rang before dawn, the spirit would not rest. When the bell rang at midnight, they found the corpse standing, the talisman burned to ash." To this day, Taoist priests say the bell's echo is not sound, it's a soul refusing silence. And when you hear wind chimes ring where there is no wind, they say a Jiangshi is passing by. 5 creatures, 5 names whispered across centuries. Some hunt for blood, some for souls, but all share one truth. Immortality always comes at a cost. Maybe vampires were never monsters. Maybe they were stories we told to understand our own hunger, for power, for eternity, for love that never ends. Every culture calls it something different. Every heart fears the same thing, the night we cannot conquer. So tell me, who rules the night? Comment your choice below, and follow the bloodlines for more myths that refuse to die. Everyone knows sunlight kills vampires, but what if I told you that's a lie? The first vampires didn't fear the sun at all. They walked beneath it. They hunted at dusk. In the oldest legends, from Eastern Europe to the Far East, the creatures of the night were destroyed not by the sun, but by something far more human. Tonight we ask, if sunlight isn't what kills a vampire, then what does? The earliest vampire myths came long before Dracula. In Slavic tales, Upir, the fire vampire, could walk in daylight. In Romanian stories, Strigoi were burned or staked, not because sunlight hurt them, but because the living feared they never truly died. Vampires weren't creatures of the night. They were reflections of guilt, of hunger, of the fear that death might not be the end. So when people said kill it, what they really meant was kill the thing that reminds us of ourselves. Across cultures, what kills a vampire changes, but the weapons always mean something. A wooden stake, the tree of life piercing death. Silver, pure and untarnished, the metal of the moon, the mirror to the soul. Holy water, not because it burns the flesh, but because faith burns doubt. Garlic, not for its smell, but because in old medicine it was life, a cure for plague and poison. Every weapon humans used against vampires was a prayer disguised as a ritual. But there's one thing older than all these myths, and it kills every vampire, no matter the culture. It's invitation. A vampire cannot enter your home unless you let it in. Why? Because in every version of the story, the monster isn't really breaking in. We are the ones opening the door. That rule wasn't about homes, it was about hearts. Evil only survives when it's invited. When we choose fear. When we feed the darkness instead of facing it. Modern storytellers gave vampires new weaknesses. Silver bullets, sunlight, mirrors. But none of those existed in the beginning. Sunlight was added by filmmakers in the 1920s. Nosferatu introduced it, not folklore. So what really kills a vampire isn't light, it's truth. Mirrors were never about reflection. They were about recognition. Because vampires can't see their reflection, not because they have none, but because they refuse to face what they've become. So maybe it's not sunlight. Maybe the true death of a vampire comes when it remembers the person it used to be. Every vampire story is a confession, a story about immortality and what it costs. The moment they face their past, the hunger ends. And so does the monster. So what kills a vampire? The stake, the silver, the sunlight? Or the truth that no one escapes the night forever? Tell me what you believe. What's the real weakness of the undead? Comment below and join us next time on Bloodlines, where myths bleed into reality. You think vampires are all the same? Immortal, powerful, untouchable? But what if I told you, even among the undead, there's a class system. Not every vampire lives forever. Not every vampire drinks freely. Some serve, some rule, some are nothing but food for their own kind. From blood slaves to immortal lords, tonight we unveil the truth behind the vampire hierarchy. A structure older than human civilization, built on blood, power, and eternal obedience. Every kingdom needs workers. For vampires, those workers are the thralls, the half-bitten. Mortals who were fed a drop of vampire blood, enough to survive, but never enough to die. They clean, they guard, they bleed. In Eastern European lore, they were called ghouls, grave servants, addicted to the taste of their master's blood. Their veins carry power, but their souls? Owned. The more they drink, the less human they become, yet never fully immortal. They are the first rung of the eternal ladder, and every vampire begins here, in servitude. Above the thralls are the turned, the newly reborn vampires. Their transformation is violent, raw, and rarely perfect. A newborn's hunger is endless. They are bound to their sire, their creator. In Slavic myth, the Strigoi could only rise after feeding from their master's veins. They live centuries under another's command, their minds chained by the blood that made them. Many go mad, some rebel and die, but a few, the clever ones, learn to manipulate the hierarchy itself. They become something far more dangerous. Vampires who hunt not for blood, but for power. The true rulers of the night are the elders, ancient vampires who no longer feed for survival, but for dominance. They remember the gods. They remember when blood was divine. In Greek and Babylonian myth, immortals drank the ichor of the gods, the same golden essence that made their hearts eternal. Elders are that myth reborn. They control entire clans through blood oaths. A single drop of their essence can enslave 1,000 lesser vampires, and like feudal lords, they rule with elegance and terror. Their whispers can start wars. Their hunger can end dynasties. They are gods pretending to be monsters, or perhaps monsters who never stopped pretending to be gods. But at the very top, above the elders, there are the progenitors, the originals, not born, not turned, created. Every myth calls them by different names: Lilith, Cain, Sekhmet, Upir. The first bloodlines began with them, beings who defied divine order and took immortality by force. To worship them is to drink from the source. To defy them is to burn. Some say they still sleep beneath the earth, their dreams shaping the hunger of every vampire above them. Others say they rule silently through blood, their will flowing through every immortal vein. And when they wake, the hierarchy resets. The strong feed, and the weak are bled dry. Every vampire tale, every hierarchy is a mirror of us. The thralls crave belonging. The turned crave freedom. The elders crave control. The progenitors crave eternity. It's not just a hierarchy of blood. It's the story of human power, written in red. Because deep down, we all drink from something. Power, love, control, approval. And no matter how high we climb, something always demands to be fed. So now you know, even immortality has classes. The only question left is, if you were bitten tonight, would you be a thrall, a lord, or the one who makes the rules? Comment your answer below. And subscribe to Eastern and Western Legends, Bloodlines, where every myth has a hierarchy, and every story bleeds truth. Everyone knows the story: vampires, cold, elegant, immortal; werewolves, wild, primal, unstoppable. But what if their war didn't start in the night? What if it started in heaven? Before silver bullets, before moonlight and coffins, there was a feud, not between monsters, but between two bloodlines born from the same curse. Tonight, we uncover the real reason. Vampires and werewolves have hated each other for 1,000 years. Long before horror films and folklore, there were stories of divine punishment. In one version of the Slavic myth, the first vampire was born from a man who refused to die, and the first werewolf from one who refused to serve. One drank blood to live forever. The other shed his humanity to be free. They were brothers, cursed under different moons. The vampire inherited eternal hunger. The werewolf inherited eternal rage. Two sides of the same rebellion, one trying to control death, the other trying to escape it. Ancient Babylonian texts spoke of the Udug-hul, spirits who drank blood, and Lamashtu, beasts who devoured flesh. Blood and flesh, order and chaos. In early Christian folklore, vampires were linked to Cain, the first murderer, cursed to walk forever, feeding on blood. Werewolves, meanwhile, descended from the tribes of Esau, wild men condemned to roam the wilderness. One lived forever, the other could never settle. The gods split their fates apart, so they would always destroy what the other desires. Vampires crave eternity. Werewolves crave freedom, and both crave control. Medieval Europe turned myth into war. Villagers claimed that when wolves vanished from the forest, the vampires had fed. And when vampires disappeared, the wolves hunted their graves. In the Balkans, priests wrote of nights when packs of werewolves surrounded graveyards to prevent vampires from rising. In Romania, they were called Moroi hunters. In Norse sagas, wolf warriors, Ulfhednar, fought the blood drinkers of the East. The war was never just about survival, it was about dominance. The werewolves fought to protect the living, the vampires fought to rule them, and humanity was caught in the middle. Every myth hides a truth. Vampires and werewolves are not opposites, they're reflections of what we fear most about ourselves. Vampires represent the mind, cold, calculated, obsessed with control and immortality. Werewolves represent the body, wild, emotional, untamed by civilization. One lives forever without feeling, the other feels everything and dies young. It's the same war every human fights, between reason and instinct, between control and chaos, between the hunger for power and the need to be free. Even today, the myth survives. In films, in games, in whispers on dark forums. Because deep down, we all choose sides. The vampire's perfection, or the werewolf's freedom. Immortality, or the wild heartbeat of life. Maybe the feud never ended. Maybe it just moved inside us. Because every time you choose control over chaos or passion over reason, the war continues. So, whose side are you on? The vampire, who conquers death? Or the werewolf, who conquers himself? Comment your allegiance below, and subscribe to Eastern and Western Legends, Bloodlines, where every myth hides a truth, and every truth bleeds a little deeper.